Hey everybody, I'm Velko and welcome to another unfortunate video of my Peugeot 207 GTI, and I'm gonna tell you now the story of what happened. Basically the coolant started bleeding from the car, but let's start from the beginning, how I noticed it and what was the cause, because we know what's the cause and we already have a replacement part and we're gonna fix it, so it's not a big deal, but it made me so mad. I mean, not long ago I had a turbo failure and it wasn't a cheap fix, but once I fixed it, I'm like, okay, I can enjoy it now. Just to soon after have another problem, and that I wasn't able to drive because of it. So here's the full story. So 2 weeks ago, I was alone in my Peugeot going to the car wash to clean it. And after the car wash, I wanted to get some groceries, and there's one stretch of road that's like straight and it's not dangerous to accelerate. So because I changed the turbo, I wanted to be sure everything works correctly. So I did an acceleration in first and second gear. And after that, everything was fine. And when I came actually here, this is the shopping mall that I buy the groceries, and I got out of the car and I started walking towards the entrance, but then I saw a pinkish, not a puddle, but a trail from the engine bay of my car, and I'm thinking, okay, that's weird. Maybe maybe it's from some other car and it's just a coincidence. And then I looked behind below the car, and I saw it's dripping from somewhere. The coolant is dripping. So I'm not far away from home, but I don't want to take any risks because it already used a lot of coolant what I saw. So it was probably leaking a little bit right after the turbo replacement, but I just didn't notice until I probably accelerated hard in first and second gear, and then started to really drip a lot more. So thankfully I noticed it, because maybe if I went on a longer trip and I didn't even know, I was just driving, I could have run out of coolant, but then of course my temperature would raise, but it wouldn't be fun. I would probably have to get towed. So thankfully it didn't happen far from my home. I'm just 5 minutes away. So I left the car here, and then weeks passed because I was very busy with my private life stuffs. So I didn't even, the car was sitting here for like maybe 15 to 20 days even. But then finally, when I was free and my dad was free as well, we came and inspected and found where the coolant is leaking. So I'm going to show you where, and I'll show you the cause of the leak. So let's go. And there's the engine bay. We, as you see, removed a lot of things to get to the hose, and the problem was the turbo, the coolant hose that goes into the turbo, which is located here, a very tight space that you can barely put your arm in. But we managed to remove it. But what was the cause of this? Now, when I saw where the hose was leaking, I noticed that the heat shield is actually touching the hose a little bit. And then I thought maybe when the guys were replacing the turbo, they put the heat shield a bit on the right, and then, you know, this heat shield gets very hot because of the turbo, and maybe that's why it weakened the hose. Or maybe it was just from all the taking off, putting on, this part just gave up from so many turbo rebuilds and replacements. If it was because of the heat shield, we bent it a little bit so it doesn't come in contact with the coolant hose at all. So that's not going to happen again. As you can see, there's a new hose now, and that's because we brought it to the service for them to put a new hose, and they did it pretty well. Like, this hose can take up to 90 degrees. So it's going to do the job, but we found actually the OEM hose along with the metal one for around 30 euros. But the problem is it's gonna arrive in 20 days, and I want to drive my car. I can't wait anymore. So we For around 10 euros we rebuilt and put a new hose. But if it starts leaking again, I'm gonna order the brand new OEM one and finish the job. But for now we will try to install this, put it back, and to see if it's gonna leak. So let's go. Alright, time to test. I am looking at in my rear view mirror in case if there's gonna be a big leak, so I can see the coolant trail, but so far so good. My coolant temperature and oil temperature is still not ready yet, but I'm gonna give a bit more gas after this traffic light. I so miss driving this car. It's been almost a month and now the weather is actually perfect. It's 28, 29 degrees. So very nice weather to enjoy a manual and have a bit of fun. Okay, second gear pull. Okay, I don't see any leak in my rear view mirror, but I will stop and check if it's leaking, just in case. I don't want to do any risks. My coolant temperature is not going above 90 degrees, so it's good. Nothing, not a single drop, so that's a good sign. I will accelerate a bit more, but I think it's clear that it's fixed. Alright, that's about it. I'm gonna park the car and see one more time. And let's see one last time. Yeah, not a single drop. Let's check the coolant level. It's a bit above maximum, but that's because the engine is still warm. So I can officially declare this issue fixed. So as you saw, it wasn't a big problem, but the most difficult part is how the engine bay is so cramped, like there's no room for your hand. It's tough to replace that hose, but we managed to do it. Anyway, stay tuned for more videos of my Peugeot 207 GTI. Hopefully not these types of videos where I always find myself fixing my car. So yeah, take care.